We've had a few questions actually about gallbladder problems. If you have your gallbladder removed, is being on a low carb, high fat diet an issue?
Okay, so what the gallbladder does, so just for a bit of background information, the liver makes something called bile, and that gets stored in a little sac called the gallbladder. And when you eat fat, that gallbladder empties out and it acts as a detergent so that you can absorb the fat from the diet. So when you take out the gallbladder, you no longer have this storage repository. So it means rather than being able to inject a big bolus of detergent to help absorb the fat, you're relying on a constant trickle. So in the early stages, there will be a degree of fat intolerance. You won't be able to absorb as much fat. And what that means is some of that fat will come out into the stool, which you'll notice it may be a bit more malodorous than usual. It might float. But like most other functions in the body responds to training. So if you consistently have increased fat levels in the diet and persist with that, then your body's ability to secrete the bile will also increase. And most people, over a period of maybe about 3 to 6 months, can end up tolerating a high-fat diet very well, even without a gallbladder.
So just to follow up on that, somebody has asked, as a GP, can I advise overweight patients with gallstones to follow a low-carb, high-fat diet? So
on the studies where they've actually found gallstones on ultrasound and then assessed people to see how often they become symptomatic, the 10-year rate of them actually causing problems is only about 25%. So we also know that gallstones form because of a low-fat diet. So what actually happens, you understand that the gallbladder needs to empty when you eat fat. When you don't eat fat, the gallbladder does not empty. You end up with this sludge. And within that sludge, you can get niduses of stones forming. If you regularly empty your gallbladder, those stones will not form. So the reverse process is true. If you're regularly emptying your gallbladder, you can get dissolution and those stones will dissolve over time. So in the time that I've been practicing the low carb diet, I've only had one patient who had an attack of symptomatic gallstones. He was consented to it. Every of my patients gets physically examined, which includes palpation of the right upper quadrant to assess for that, and if there's tenderness there, we do an ultrasound. If there's gallstones there, you are consented to that risk, that 25% over 10 years risk, but understanding that the gallstones will dissolve with time. This chap who had the attack, he started out with 10 quite massive gallstones, and at the time of his attack, he only had 2 stones left in the gallbladder. So they do dissolve with time. So I consent the patients to it. They have to assume the risk. They know that if you have an attack of gallstones, severe pain, you're going to be in hospital and you're going to be given morphine, and likely you're going to have some surgeon hanging over your bed saying we need to cut out your gallbladder. And that's another conversation for later. But my patients, I do put them on a high-fat diet with gallstones, but they're consented.